Yes, I'm back on my soapbox again today. It seems like I've been there quite a bit lately. I didn't mean to, but there are so many things that are developing right now that I simply think we've got to talk about right now. And I'm especially concerned today with a story that's breaking. Climate McCarthyism claims yet another victim. I'll tell you about that in a moment. But what I'm thinking about today is we've reached the point in our society that if you don't ascribe to certain beliefs, there are many major corporations in America that will fire you. Now, I remember the day when people used to be able to say even ignorant things. And yet because we had this treasured concept of freedom of speech, they didn't get fired. As a matter of fact, we weren't sure they could be fired for what they said. And then freedom of religion, it looked like that all of us could believe what we truly believed in our hearts, and that would be respected by everyone because, after all, these things are enshrined in the Constitution of the United States of America. And the Constitution of America is the ultimate law. But something has fundamentally changed. I'm afraid it's what President Obama was speaking of in his campaign speech when he promised the fundamental transformation of America, because that's exactly what is happening. I'm telling you, you know very well that if you express that you are opposed to same-sex marriage, no matter how politely you do it, you're in danger of the wrath of the entire media world coming right down on your head, and there's a really good chance that you're going to get a pink slip saying we don't need you here any longer. Now, the same thing is happening now with global warming. If you do not believe in man-made global warming, one professor suggested you should be jailed. Now, I'm not joking. That's actually the kind of mentality that we have moved into. It's not freedom of speech and freedom of religion anymore. It's conform or else. Now, let me remind you of a couple of cases. You remember Brendan Eich. He was the founder of Mozilla that has the Firefox browser that is so popular in our world. Well, someone got to digging in his past and found out that he contributed $1,000 to preserve Proposition 8, to promote Proposition 8 in California, which outlawed same-sex marriage. And by the way, the majority of people in California voted for that, and it was outlawed. However, a federal judge overthrew it. Nevertheless, when his own company found out that he had contributed $1,000, which is a pittance for a man of his wealth, because he believed that marriage should be between one man and one woman, this hit the fan like there was no tomorrow. And as a result, the board of his company, of Mozilla, discontinued. They fired him. Now, he's fired from his own company, and he was one of the two founders of this whole organization. Well, the same thing is happening in other areas. For example, you remember Phil Robertson, of course, of Duck Dynasty. I mean, he expressed his feelings from the Bible that same-sex marriage is not God's will for mankind. And, of course, the network decided he had to go. Well, then Cracker Barrel piled on. But Cracker Barrel didn't expect what it got. All of a sudden, they were absolutely inundated with people saying, wait a minute, if you're not going to carry Duck Dynasty materials anymore, and if you're going to trash Phil Robertson, we won't frequent your restaurant anymore. Well, Cracker Barrel got the message real fast. I mean, it didn't take them but 2 days to do a turnaround and say, we heard you loud and clear. Forget we said we were going to do that. We're going back to our original stance. Yes, everything that Duck Dynasty has is going to be for sale. But the point is, this is America, the land of the free and the home of the, what's that word, brave? Or is that coward? I think it's home of the brave. Land of the free, home of the brave. Well, that's where we are right now. Okay. Just a couple of examples. Well, I'm actually going to go ahead and go to the article that provoked all this thinking in me today because I want you to hear it for yourself. This actually comes from Breitbart. It was published on the 13th of June. And here's the story. Dr. Caleb Rossiter a former Democratic congressional candidate, has impeccable liberal credentials. As the founder of Demilitarization for Democracy, he has campaigned against U.S.-backed wars in Central America, in Southern Africa, against U.S. military support for dictators, and against anti-personnel mines. But none of this was enough to spare him the wrath of the Institute for Policy Studies when he wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal describing man-made global warming as an unproved science. He touched the sacred cow, because the global warming, man-made global warming, is the sacred cow of the one-worlders that are planning on ushering in this new world order. The article goes on to say, 2 days later, he was sacked by email. I mean, this icon of democratic liberalism, but he crossed this one line that must not be crossed. He was sacked by email. The Institute for Policy Studies said, "We would like to inform you that we are terminating your position as an associate fellow of the Institute of Policy Studies. Unfortunately, we now feel that your views on key issues, including climate science, climate justice, and many aspects of U.S. policy to Africa, diverge so significantly from ours." In the Wall Street Journal op-ed entitled "Sacrificing Africa for Climate Change," Rossiter argued that Africans should benefit from the same mixed energy policy as Americans, rather than being denied access to fossil fuels on spurious environmental grounds by green activists. He wrote, "The left wants to stop industrialization even if the hypothesis of catastrophic man-made global warming is false. But the Institute for Policy Studies is ideologically committed to ensuring that Africans only enjoy the benefits of expensive, intermittent, inefficient, renewable energy such as wind and solar." So he writes this honest opinion. And let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, global warming is unproven. Let me talk to you about this for just a moment. This is so critical to all of us. I want to look at you straight in the eye and tell you that global warming, man-made global warming, is a hoax. It is an absolute hoax. It not only is unproven to be true, but it has been proven repeatedly to be false. Now, before you close your ears to me, just listen one moment. I'm going to give you an absolute proof that global warming is false. Let's wind the calendar back 1,000 years. Do you know that they have dug down in Greenland 12 feet through ice, and they have found farms that were being farmed 1,000 years ago? So there was no ice in Greenland 1,000 years ago. It was much warmer then than it is today. Furthermore, we have historical proof that ships sailed through the northern straits where today you couldn't possibly sail through because it's all encased in ice. So it was much warmer 1,000 years ago than it is today, and yet it didn't destroy humanity like the warmest are saying will happen if we do not stop the present trend upward. And the fact is, there's not even a trend upward. Because here's the theory. The theory is that increased carbon emissions cause global warming, rise in temperature. But the fact is, it's not even true. It's not true at all. Because carbon emissions have been going up over the last 16 years quite rapidly. Would you like to guess how much the global temperature has increased in the last 16 years? Well, you're right if you said 0 or nada or niet or 9. None. There has been no increase in the global temperature in the last 16 years, and yet carbon emissions have gone up dramatically as we move further and further into industrialization. The truth of the matter is, global warming is a hoax. And this professor dared to be honest. And we're talking about a person, a Dr. Caleb Rossiter. He dared to be honest, and the result is he got his pink slip from the IPS. Okay, now, what's all this mean? So they're trying to make us believe a lie as the truth. And if we don't ascribe to their lie, then we're marked out as a non-person. You can't hold jobs. I mean, this is happening the same way with same-sex marriage. I mean, in the history of the world, no nation has embraced same-sex marriage. As far as I know, the United States is the first nation to take the lead, and just within the last few years. So here we come through all these thousands of years of recorded human history, and nobody has ever embraced same-sex marriage until now. But suddenly we're smarter than anybody's ever been before. And we talk about two men building a family together. Let them try it. You know what they need? They got to have a woman, or else they're not going to have a family. Now, don't bother me with the facts. I mean, that's too simple. It's too easy. Common sense is not in my vocabulary. Now, I know I'm hitting a little hard here right now, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm just telling you, we're going stupid. We are right now allowing ourselves to be swept along by the elite, most of whom have never held a real job in their lives. And all the education they've gotten has been from the liberal elite through the college system that has been taken over. And all of their rulings are being held up by elite judges who also don't have common sense. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, face this. You can take a case to court today and get an exact opposite ruling of what you would have gotten 30 years ago. Exact opposite. Has the truth changed? None. Zero. But what has changed? The value system of the judges of America. Liberal judges have been appointed on purpose to bring about fundamental change in the United States of America, and it's happening. But it's not for the better. It is for the worse. Be back.